Hi, I'm Garrett Town with AM Solar, and this week we worked on a very interesting Overlander project. I'll introduce you to the builder.
My name is Rick Mottern. I own Rick's Mobile Service in Oregon, and you can find me at ricksmobileoregon@gmail.com. So I have been in the RV industry since '96, so quite a long time, almost 30 years. Started off in service at a couple of local shops and then went out on my own in 2000. So I've been doing this by myself for 25 years. Did a lot of repair on RVs for a long time. This is actually my first full custom build, and this rig is really unique in a lot of ways, and let me show you how. Let's start over here in the garage. This thing's really cool. So this is about 55 inches tall. You can see it fits a dirt bike. It'll actually fit 3 dirt bikes with the right ramp, of course, because it is pretty tall. We did a 4-wheel drive conversion on this. It started out as an ambulance, and now, as you can see, it's a super tall but very neat, short RV package. So in the garage, eventually there will be a door that goes through into the living compartment. As you can see, giant swing door. We did a lot of cool features here underneath the rig. We've got aluminum boxes back behind the baggage doors here. This is a full aluminum skin. We've got a steel perimeter frame all the way around that actually articulates. You can see the spring mounts here, so it keeps this frame for the box separate from the actual chassis frame. This allows the chassis to articulate while the box stays nice and straight and doesn't actually put any stress on the box to pop seams or crack roofs or joints or anything like that. So this rig, the actual box is 8 feet tall, but inside the living compartment we're just under 7 feet. So what makes this rig really unique is everything, all the water systems, everything that could freeze won't freeze. Nothing is outside. So inside the rig, in what we call the basement, which is this 13.5-inch area, you've got a gray water tank, you got your fresh water tanks. We got 66 gallons of fresh, 46 of gray, and then underneath the bathroom shower area we got another 26 of black. And when this rig first came to me, the owner, Lisa, had drawn everything out in Google SketchUp and said basically everything she wanted to do. And I went through a list with her on what she couldn't do and what we had to change. And my whole goal with this was everything is serviceable 100%. So as you can see here, this baggage door is big enough to remove any of these tanks, because over time, whether it's a year or 100 years from now, something will fail. So we've got this piece of aluminum here that's shaped like what we call a piece of cheese that slides under the tank, that keeps that slope out to the drain side. This gets pulled out, the freshwater tank can slide over and pull out, everything 100% serviceable.
Okay, so how long would it take somebody to get to this point of the build if they were creating one of these themselves?
It's an interesting point. This particular one, actually to the day, I've had it 1 year.
Wow.
So the box came from Overland Adventure Truck in Washington, Quaid. Super good dude, builds the boxes. He dropped it off at my shop exactly a year ago. So if we had a straightforward process, everything is the way it's going to be on paper with no changes, you're looking at about 6 months.
Okay.
We had a lot of changes as we went through, because this was the first and only of its kind with all these unique details inside. So we're really close. I think we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from finishing this. So this build will be about a year. But I'd say 6 months is pretty realistic for something maybe not as wild as this, but a build that would be good for everybody.
Okay, I can tell there's a lot of high-end features on this. What should somebody budget for when they're putting together something like this?
Oh man, from mild to wild. So I would say at the high end, which is something like this, is about 200,000 bucks.
Okay.
And that's buying a used, this was used ambulance chassis. It had 150,000 miles on it. This one's a gasoline V10. So I would say that's at the higher end of the budget, but completely reasonable when you think about what people are spending on sprinters that are half as big and half as capable when we're talking about off-road and being comfortable inside. So I think bang for the buck, this thing still fits.
Definitely. So tell me about this power system and what the vision was for it. So it doesn't sound like you had a lot of specific loads in mind. You just wanted to overbuild it and give maximum flexibility. Did you know if she had any plans for like a mini split, microwaves, blenders? What's the vision here?
Yeah, the whole idea was to just build it as big as we could to begin with, so that in the future, expandability is not an issue. So we went with a massive battery bank. We went with a giant charge controller. The roof is, pretty big, so it allows for up to about 1,200 watts of solar. We've got 430 on it now, which you could see that charge controller is completely oversized for the 430. But if she wants to change it in the future, finds a need or a demand, or if she sells it, or somebody in the future that purchases it want to go up to 1,200 watts, they can, without changing the core system.
So I see you've got two of those nice Dometic 215 watt 9 bus bar panels up there.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that this cable here is up to the combiner box. So the combiner box that joins the panels in parallel, it routes down through this very thick cable, and those two panels take up just a fraction of the roof space. It goes down from here to a disconnect switch, the one that says solar back there. Yeah. And then from that to the charge controller.
Yeah, you got your shut-off breaker here in the way too.
And so that's this is from the output of the charge controller.
Solar breaker, yep.
Yeah. So this charge controller, it can handle about 1,200 watts of solar, and you don't have anywhere near that, so you've got plenty of extra capacity on that. And for the battery bank,
so
what do
the
we have here?
Battery bank is huge. So we've got 3 of the Lifetime 460s.
Oh, yeah.
They're all in this channel here. And like I said, serviceability. So this obviously would be covered by floor. We've got our dinette coming up here. So these batteries actually slide out each one, and you could pull it out through the dinette. What we did that was pretty unique here is we did a separate shut off for each battery as we service them. Because they're hidden, you can literally flip off a battery, pull the cable, and the cable won't be hot. So you could flip off all 3. You could leave your cables open while you're pulling your batteries out and servicing them.
Great.
So that's pretty unique. Yeah, so the battery bank, obviously we've got, 1,380 amp hours, which is huge.
Yeah, that's in the top 5% of what we deal with.
Yeah, it's a killer system, but it's not going to be used right now to its maximum, but it always allows for that in the future.
Yeah.
So if there's a high demand, we're going to put in a 12-volt Dometic air conditioning system, a rooftop system, and it'll be wired for microwave for the future. So yeah, kind of sky's the limit on what you want to do in the future, and that's the whole goal with this build, is to make it available to put anything you want in later on.
Okay. And I see that for alternator charger, you're using the new Orion XS 50 amp unit, and you have room to add another one of those, and you even have the breaker for it installed ahead of time with nothing going to it. So that's some more extra capacity. For the inverter, you've got the Victron Multi Plus 2. It's a 30 amp AC panel, so this is the 1X120 version. And then you have the Victron Servo monitoring everything. And then that reports to this Touch 50 display, allowing the owner to see everything that's going on with the system and monitor it and control it.
Yep. And aside from that, power, we've got on board a 2800 Onan microlight generator. You know, completely overbuilt. Kind of won't leave you stranded no matter what happens. So we've got that 30 amp service coming over, and then also hooked up to this whole system through the multi-plus will be an auto gen start, which you could set a million different parameters if you want.
Yeah, there's no need to just park this at a campground and plug in. This thing takes care of itself. So we assembled this power system this week at AM Solar, and Rick shadowed us this week. So Rick, tell us about your experience at AM Solar. What surprised you about the installation process? What did you learn? What was most interesting for you?
You know, dealing with the challenges is always the most interesting and most fun, really, for me. Is trying to figure out basically how to fit things, make things work, and custom tailor things to what you need or what the system demands. So being over here was great. Hung out with the guys, got to work alongside them, help them out whenever they allowed me to, which is tough for me because I like digging in. But I think most challenging is pretty much always the same. It's the same. You've got your components, but figuring out where you're going to fit them, you know, running cable, making things, you know, putting all the strain reliefs in, making sure they don't rub on metal parts, you know, always the most important things. So fitting the system, I guess, is probably the most difficult. The components are what they are. We know what they do and how they plug in. So I think that would probably be my answer to most difficult.
All right, challenge question here. Yeah. If you have a friend that needs a mobile power system, what company are you going to send them to?
Oh man, no doubt, AM Solar.
Oh, that's the right answer.
That's
yes. Okay. All right. Well, it was fun working with you this week, and hopefully this video gets out and you find a lot of new clients that want Overlander rigs like this. You do great work, and we look forward to working with you more in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for letting me be alongside this build.
All right. Thank you.